Yes, Brooke, we've learned a few extra details here that we know that none of those soldiers that went to Winn Army Community Hospital, they're not going to be coming by any type of helicopter just because of the weather conditions here, but we have confirmed that 2 are going to be arriving by ambulance, and that's of course to be treated here at Memorial Health because it is a level 1 trauma center. Meanwhile, Winn Army Community Hospital is level 4, so different response level here. They handle all sorts of gunshot wounds just being here in Savannah and the different crime that we see, but of course they're prepared. They're inside this ER here. If a helicopter were to land, it would land right above me, but because of weather, they are not going to be bringing any soldiers in. And of course, we earlierly confirmed that this was an active shooter situation because I was talking to some of my contacts out there at Fort Stewart that I work with so regularly, reporting on military topics here in Southeast Georgia. It's a very tight-knit military community. Not only do we have Fort Stewart all the way out in Hinesville, here in this area, just a few blocks from where I'm standing, there's Hunter Army Airfield, where there are so many different families and soldiers that are listening into this, wanting to hear the latest details on these victims that of course are in this tragic and unfortunate situation that happened in an area where first responders all are. Those soldiers, they're our backbone, and of course this type of incident brings such confusion, and we want to help clarify as much as we can. So right now we do know that 2 are going to be arriving by ambulance shortly here. It's about a 40-minute drive from Hinesville to Savannah, so we're just awaiting their arrival here so they can be treated as soon as possible. Brooke, back to you.
Yeah, Brooke, at this point right now, things have kind of, I hate using this term normal, but it seems like it's an average day here at Fort Stewart. Traffic is coming in and out of the base, but we know that it is not a normal day out here at Fort Stewart. We know from officials here at Fort Stewart that they tell us 5 soldiers have been shot at the 2nd Armored Brigade Combat Team area. We know that several of them are being treated at Winn Army Community Hospital, and we know that several of them are now heading to Savannah to go to Memorial Health to be further treated at that level 1 trauma center. But here right now, outside of the main gate of Fort Stewart, things are fairly normal. When I got here about 90 minutes ago, traffic was incredibly backed up with people trying to get onto the base. At that point, maybe about 20 minutes after that, police started shutting down traffic onto the base and actually installed traffic cones here to the front of the base to prevent anyone from coming in and out. That lasted for a good half hour before those officers left the area and were inviting folks back onto the base. Now we know, I want to step out of the way so my photographer can give you a better look onto the base. We know that in these situations, after a security situation on the base, we know that security is going to be tight, and I apologize, it's tough with these cars driving to get a clear shot of that main gate, but we do know that extra security precautions are underway to keep the soldiers and their families safe living here on Fort Stewart. We know that this will continue to be a breaking situation. We will continue to learn more later in the day. I've been reaching out to Fort Stewart officials to try and get more information from them. We have not yet heard back, but we do know, again, from Fort Stewart officials, I want to recap, 5 soldiers shot in an active shooter incident at the 2nd Armored Brigade Combat Team area. Brooke, we will continue to stay out here and bring you the latest when we have it. Yep. No, my IFB, when this dropped, it broke. So I'm like getting in and out unless I hold it still.
I don't know what Joe has, but they look
He
like
has
they're
this.
live fit, but they come in the slot.
Those are the same bags.
When you step out, I only punch in so far because we were cautioned once before about city of gate operations and stuff. So I do push in, but I don't get right up in there because I'm like, Tomko will be calling. Well, when there's really nothing new to talk about, but they want you to stretch or stay on, that's what happens. You trip up.
Yeah, it is what it is. We've gotten all the information we can get.
And we're probably not going to get anything new anytime soon.
Maybe a press.
There's not that much you can say now. It looks like they're covering it. I guess they just talk about, like, this is where it happened, right? This gate? Yeah, I guess. What'd she say? I don't know. Oh, show shot. That's police.
Yeah, so again, two of the five soldiers total were shot today. Two of the five, we're presuming they are the most serious injuries, and that's why they're being transported now to Savannah, to the trauma center. Two of the five en route via ambulance to Memorial Hospital in Savannah. The rest of the five are being moved to Army Community Hospital for further treatment there. So no word on the conditions. They're still working to learn more, but we did confirm from Fort Stewart that I want to reiterate because they put this out on
No service.
There are crews who are on the scene down there and able to bring us more information as to what you're seeing. Bring us those first live pictures of both of these areas as we
Good morning.
both see Fort Memorial.
Sorry?
Are y'all trying to get information?
Do you have some?
No, you need to go over to the Edge Center
Oh, we're not trying to right now. We're just videoing.
because in actuality you should be over at the Edge Center. Nobody should be over there.
Okay, nobody's told us to move or anything.
Yeah, that's why I'm here. I got it over the radio. All you do is go to the Edge Center. You should get all the information.
Where do I go? Where is that?
When you go back out Sunbury, you're gonna go all the way around and you're gonna come back like you're coming through the front gate.
Yeah, so
It's
that
like
lockdown.
you know where Baldino's is on General Strata?
No. Is there a certain thing we can type in our location or our maps? What should we type in?
Well, you're going to the you're going to I left there. You're going to Fort Stewart front gate. The Edge Center is right across on the other side,
Okay.
and they should be able to give you any information that you need.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you. Typing in now.
All right, y'all have fun.
You too.
And so we're not allowed to stay here.
No. Hello? Hey. The road. Oh yeah, no, we told him when we got out of the car. Right. Oh, okay. Good idea. Yeah, we just got asked to move, so we're gonna have to move real quick. Okay, thanks, Michael.
Huh?
Armored Brigade combat.
Do you want to move?
Thumbs up when you're ready.
Okay.
Yeah, 10 minutes.
Did you learn anything more from these guys? Yeah, certainly a lot different than it was when I first got here, just after 11:30 or so. Traffic is moving fairly normally out here outside of Fort Stewart, but we know that it is anything but a normal day beyond the main gate here at Fort Stewart. I want to step out of the way so I can give you a better perspective of this gate, where people to get on the base need to, of course, check in. When I first got here, this was completely bumper-to-bumper traffic as security was ramping up the requirements to, of course, get onto base. Then Fort Stewart closed off and locked down the entire base. And then probably at this point, about 45 minutes ago, they have returned to normal operations, saying in a post to Facebook that there is no active threat to the community. In just the last 20 minutes, a team member with the Army Public Affairs Office just checked in with us, told us to kind of stick around this area, but told us that we should at some point get access to Fort Stewart and to be able to get to that 2nd Armored Brigade combat team area where this shooting is said to have happened. But at this point, it remains an active scene where officials with the Army Criminal Investigations Division are continuing to go through that scene and figure it all out. There's still a lot of questions that we have. We know a shooter has been apprehended, but we don't know who they are. Are they a soldier? Are they a soldier's family members? Or are they just someone that was able to make their way onto base and inflict this violence on 5 U.S. service members here at Fort Stewart? It's an incredibly sad, heavy day. When I first got out here, I'm set up kind of at a strip mall with a Subway and an Indian restaurant. There was every parking lot, every parking space was full. Soldiers were just waiting for word to get back on the base. There's a lot of that unknown in these sort of developing situations that really you catch these soldiers just waiting to get an answer as to what is going on. We are going to continue to press Fort Stewart officials. As I said, a member of the public affairs team told us that at some point today, we will likely be able to get onto the base and get outside of that 2nd Armored Brigade combat team area. We will, of course, continue to keep you posted and bring you the latest from there. But that is all we've got for now. We're going to send it back to you, Brooke. Yeah, well, heck, it's nothing special.
Yeah.
It's just I was here.
This has nothing to do with what we're doing. Is that on?
It is.
ready to shoot a whip, aren't you?
Yeah, 1 second. I want to make sure. Any update for us?
Yeah, so nothing to push out on the news, but for your guys' sake,
Sure.
tentatively 1600 freshman.
Okay, where about?
It should be, as far as I know, in the field here on Fort Stewart.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Like right, literally right here.
once you get on post
Okay.
over there, yeah. As far as I don't know.
But
for
you'll
sure.
be carrying us around
There-
saying, "Oh, go this way."
There'll be a media advisory that we put out to
Perfect.
you guys
Okay.
here eventually.
Okay, and that's not for release, you said?
Not for release.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's do this thing. Lydia's killing it right now. Okay, I'm gonna turn my IFB off, so if anything happens, just keep me posted. I'm Andy Cole outside Fort Stewart, where Army officials tell us 5 soldiers were shot today outside the 2nd Armored. I don't know this outside. Stand by. I'm Andy Cole outside of Fort Stewart here in southeast Georgia, where the Army says 5 soldiers were shot earlier this afternoon here on base. I want to step out of the way so my photographer can give you a look at the gate where things have returned to normal. They are allowing folks in and out of the base, but that is certainly a far cry from what the situation was earlier this afternoon as the base was put on lockdown and they evaluate the situation. We can do that again, Dan, if you want. Yeah.
I'm going to stop it
You're good. You're good.
because I get where you were going, but I had no shot.
Yeah, okay. All right, you ready? I won't move or anything. I'll just stay right here.
Well, you can't really see anything that white pickup truck.
Okay, so just got to wait for it.
Yeah.
Okay. Do I look like I'm sweating?
Not really.
That's good.
Okay. Well,
I'm Andy Cole outside of Fort Stewart. I'm Andy Cole outside of Fort Stewart in southeast Georgia, where the Army says 5 soldiers have been shot outside of the 2nd Armored Brigade Combat Team area. We know that those soldiers are now being taken to the hospital, some being treated at Winn Army Community Hospital here on base, others being taken about an hour to Memorial Health in Savannah, the closest level 1 trauma center to this Army base. That's the other difficulty for first responders, is the proximity of this location. Of course, there are a few agencies around this area, but we have seen agencies from as far as 40, 45, even an hour away come and support the law enforcement effort that is happening here on Fort Stewart. Army officials say there is no active threat and things seem normal, but I hesitate to use that word normal because there is nothing normal about this day when 5 soldiers are shot on base here at Fort Stewart. Officials have not yet provided any information on that shooter, who they say is in custody and was taken into custody around 11:35 this morning. We don't know if that person was a soldier or if they were a family member of a soldier, or if they were just a random person getting onto the base. All of those questions are something we will be pressing Fort Stewart officials and Army officials as they continue to investigate this active shooting situation here on Fort Stewart. For now, I'm Andy Cole. Works for me. Yeah, that's right, Brooke. That's according to the Army Public Affairs officers here on scene with us, with the media. They tell us, too, that at some point today we may be able to hear from officials, but that at this point we don't have more information to share regarding that. But here I am at the main gate of Fort Stewart, where when I first got here it was completely on lockdown, and now it is certainly what would look like a normal day, but as I've been saying in all of our hits, this is anything but a normal day when 5 soldiers are shot on base, on an American U.S. Army base. It's pretty remarkable. And of course, now we're learning from this U.S. official that the shooter might have been a male soldier himself. It's a very concerning situation. But here outside of Fort Stewart, I want to step out of the way so I can give you a better look at this gate. Now, you really can't see much from where we are, but we can tell that it, again, seems like a fairly normal day here. And again, you know, with where we're set up and where traffic is, it's kind of difficult to see the entire scene. But I can tell you that from when we first got here, it was completely blocked off, and then they got people out of here and had cops that were literally in the intersection directing traffic and had put traffic cones in front of the gate, not letting anyone in or out. That has certainly changed now, as the Army says there is no active threat to the community, but you know, it's still certainly a scary situation for these soldiers, for their families, knowing that 5 soldiers were shot right here on Fort Stewart, and according to a U.S. official, they were shot by another soldier himself. So a very concerning scene that we will continue to press officials on to get to the bottom of this. Again, we anticipate getting more information from the Army, but we just don't know when at this point. These are constantly developing situations that we are monitoring. We are working our sources. I can't tell you how many phone calls I've made to different police agencies, sheriff's office, federal and state law enforcement officers to try and get any sort of information about what is going on here at Fort Stewart. But we know that a suspect has been arrested. A U.S. official tells us that that suspect is a male U.S. soldier. At this point, we don't have their identity. We do know 5 soldiers have been shot, some of them being treated here at the Army Hospital, Wynn Army Community Hospital on Fort Stewart, some of them being taken to that hour drive to Memorial Health in Savannah, where our Lydia Blackstone has been. She said just a few minutes ago that Army ambulance arrived there and will continue to be arriving there. We're going to wrap it and send it back to you now.
like 4 different gates and they kicked us out.
I know, I knew that.
Yeah, and that's kind of what we've been seeing here for several hours now. I got here around 11:30. When I first got here, traffic was bumper to bumper. Then all that traffic got out. They have an officer directing traffic and completely locked down the base. But now traffic is flowing in and out of the base here at Fort Stewart. We know. I want to step out of the way so I can give you some better look. Again, unfortunately, there's just really not much to see here from the main gate here at Fort Stewart, but this is where the Army has asked us to set up. We are told by the Army that at some point today we may be able to get access to that 2nd Armor Brigade combat team area where this shooting, Fort Stewart officials tell us, happened, but we do not have a time on that. We know, too, that at some point this afternoon we are anticipating getting additional information from Army officials and perhaps getting some answers to those big questions. We know a U.S. official tells us that the suspect is a male soldier himself. So there are a lot of questions that come along with that revelation. How this could happen, who this person was, did they still serve in the Army, or were they on reserves? There are lots of questions, and we will continue to press Fort Stewart officials on those questions. We will be here for several hours continuing to do so. You know, I was just doing some simple research on Google to try and figure out if something like this had happened before. The only thing I could find, well, certainly there have been shootings on Army bases before, but the most recent I could find, at least local to this area, was back in December 2024 at Fort Eisenhower, where one person was shot. And so, unfortunately, this is not new. But this is never a reality that we want to be in, that this is not normal. This is not normal. I said it earlier in my hit that normalcy, it kind of feels normal out here. But again, there is nothing normal about this day when 5 soldiers are shot on base here, domestic, in Georgia, not, anywhere across the world. They were shot here. And according to a U.S. official, they were shot by one of their own. We are going to be continuing to press Army CID officials. Those are the Criminal Investigation Division folks. We're also going to be pressing Fort Stewart folks. We want answers just as much as you do. But, folks, as I said much earlier, you can get a lot of information out on the Internet, but we will always, here at WJCL 22, take the time to make sure that we can confirm that information and that everything that is coming out of our mouths is confirmed and factual, because in this sort of situation, that is not worth it, not taking those precautions. Again, 5 folks shot out here at Fort Stewart, where outside the main gate, it seems things have returned back to normal. But again, there is nothing normal about this. Brooke. Thanks. Hi, how are you? Oh, one of those days. Yeah, this scene has certainly changed since we first got out here, just after 11:30 this afternoon. It is certainly, as I've been saying over and over and over again, it's sort of returned to normalcy, but I hesitate using that word normal because there is nothing normal about a day when 5 soldiers are shot inside Fort Stewart. This happened at the 2nd Armored Brigade Combat Team area. This according to a statement from Fort Stewart officials. Again, 5 soldiers injured. One soldier, a U.S. official, has told us that it was a male soldier who shot those 5 other soldiers somewhere in this base here. A very difficult and trying day. It has been at sometimes tense scene. When I first got out here, the traffic was bumper to bumper. People couldn't get into the fort because I imagine right at that main gate, what they were doing was doing extra security, making sure that no one coming in was an additional threat to the base. It was about a half hour after that heavy traffic when I first got here, maybe around 12:15, that they officially locked down the entire base. That continued for a little while until they released that lockdown. Liberty County Schools released the lockdown of their schools. And again, things are returning back to normal, but I hesitate using that word because there is nothing normal about this day here on Fort Stewart. Army officials are going to be giving us an update on this incident at 3:30. That's set to happen right in front of the main gates here at Fort Stewart, where we will continue to ask Army officials questions about what happened, who this soldier was, the soldier suspect who shot 5 of his brothers and sisters in arms, how those 5 soldiers are doing there. Lots of questions that we have for Army officials, and hopefully they will be answering those at that 3:30 press conference. But we know that a lot of eyes are on this. The President Donald Trump, saying that he has been briefed on this situation. The governor sharing his thoughts and prayers with those affected by this. This is becoming a very big story. In fact, it's not even the first shooting at Fort Stewart. Several months ago, there was a shooting where a soldier shot his family. So we know this is not the same situation, but we know this is not this is an unusual situation, not the first time to happen, but certainly scary for the folks on Fort Stewart and the families of the soldiers here on Fort Stewart, trying to figure out answers and trying to get to the bottom of what's going on here at Fort Stewart. I want to just take a quick moment to emphasize something. You know, as you're watching WJCL, you find that myself and we're repeating ourselves. The reason we do this is because we want to make sure that we get the most factual, truthful information out to y'all as soon as we can. We're going to continue to do that all night long. Outside of Fort Stewart, I'm Andy Cole, WJCL 22 News.
can't hear. Tyler, Dawn, traffic has resumed as normal. I don't want to say normal, but essentially things have returned back to normal. Cars are flowing in and out right now. We've seen lots of cars just in traffic at this light we're standing at just outside of the main gate. But people are flowing in and out of the base right now as normal. Operations have resumed. But I mean, a lot of unanswered questions still. We're still waiting on an update on the condition of those 5 soldiers, as well as the identity of the shooter and what happens now, how this happened inside of this Army base. So we're still waiting for a lot of those questions, and we heard that a press conference at 3:30 will be held right outside this front gate behind me. We're going to hopefully be asking all of those questions and hopefully getting some answers just to get an update on the condition of those soldiers and then the identity of this shooter and how this was able to happen. So a lot of questions still remain, but as far as traffic going in and out of the base, that has resumed as normal. We'll be back at 3:30 to bring you that press conference live from right here outside the front entrance. Reporting on Fort Stewart, Madeline Bierster, WTOC News. We're done. Okay. We need to charge our phone. Okay, when do you want the phone? I don't know what you just said, but I'm gonna.